Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Glad to have you back here rocking with us. And if this is your first viewing or listening experience, I'm welcoming you. And I'm saying, what's up? What's good with you? What's good? What's really, really, really good? This is a question I ask at the beginning of every podcast. And the reason why I ask the question and I ask for what's really, really, really good, because I want you to focus on the sunshine. I know that sounds bubbly. That doesn't sound too manly. But what I'm saying is, think about all of the things that's going on in your life right now that's working in your favor. That's actually good. I mean, listen, you still have the soundness of your mind. You have mobility of your body. You're not restricted in any way. Those are things that's happening in your favor and on your behalf. With that, you can change your perspective of the thing that's inconvenient right now, that's uncomfortable right now, that seems to be out of order right now. Because you have a sound mind, you know what? You can come up with solutions and strategies and tactics that change the trajectory of what is messed up right now, of what seems to be dysfunctional and can't get right. You can change that when you focus on the things that are going correct in your life, the things that's happening the way that they should. The more that you think on those things and the more that you be deliberate about continuing that, you know what? You're automatically fixing the thing that's incorrect. You're automatically straightening out what is crooked, what's in error. You're automatically moving from what has been being an inconvenience and uncomfortable to finally working to be more comfortable and finding it to be more of a convenience. Just think of it like this, man. And we're going to move on. Have you ever heard the term or the phrase, the statement that the thing that you focus on most is what expands? So you think about it. The more you think about what is inconvenient, what is out of order, what's uncomfortable right now, what seems to be chaotic, you start thinking about all the other instances when things were chaotic, when things were inconvenienced. You start thinking about how long you stayed in that, how long you had to endure it. And all that does is expand that. Now, on the other hand, if you're thinking about, all right, you know what, this is a new day. It's a new day. I can actually change this situation if I just look at it differently, if I approach it differently. And before you know it, solutions start coming to your mind. Your subconscious starts working to correct what's incorrect. Your subconscious starts to begin to find ways to place in order what has confusion. All I'm saying is you can have a bright, sunny day, but if you choose to drag rain clouds and thunder clouds into it, then that's what you're going to have. You can have it going in the direction of order, of your preference, or you can continue to be stuck in what you're stuck in. Your choice. All right, this is the Act Accordingly Series podcast, and I am your host, Daniel J. Williams. And the purpose of this podcast is, it's to show men not only how to identify, but most importantly, how to walk away from certain patterns and habits in our lives that keeps us living in frustration. And yes, I said ours and us because I'm still living life. And there's going to be moments to where I may not feel like doing something that, you know what, I want to feel like I want to push back and slow down a little bit. And that's the beginning of dysfunctional habits and cycles right there. So we don't want that. So we want to know how to identify when we're about to start falling into those things and be preventative and not even let it happen, because we've got a set of disciplines. We've got some parameters and boundaries that we have set that keeps us moving. You don't have to be moving at a fast pace all the time. It's not about a sprint. This is a marathon. So you're not sprinting in a marathon. You find a pace. and keep at a pace. Got it? Listen, husbands, fathers, men, let's talk about this for a minute. Let's talk about being apologetic, offering apologies. I know this is one of the toughest things that we as men, we have a problem with doing, offering an apology. But I'm not just talking about any apology. I'm really talking about offering apologies to your children. I know it's tough to offer an apology to another man, but I think it's tougher to offer an apology to our kids. Why? Because I know we think and we feel in some way that, you know what, we're going to be handing over a portion of, little by little, we'll be handing over our authority to them. We'll be giving them grounds to see weakness in us. Then they'll try and run over us. Why would you even think that, man? I mean, why would you think your kids would want to try and take advantage of you and try and get at you like that? That they're looking for a way to tear you down. That's not the case. But I can't even begin to think of where we got that mindset from, but that's a mindset that we shouldn't have. That's like being in the household competing with the people that you love. You don't need to compete or be in a power struggle in your household. Those are the people that you're supposed to care for, and they're supposed to feel welcome and secure and loved, and that they can just be vulnerable with you and come to you for anything. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about why we need to do a better job at offering our children apologies, right? Because like I said, you're not going to lose your authority as a parent. You won't. I promise you, you won't. And it won't diminish you as a man. It won't diminish your role in the house. It won't diminish your role in the family as being the leader, as being the provider, as being the one who sets the rules, who sets the tone for the house. It won't take away from that at all. If anything, your influence is going to strengthen even the more when you learn how to give an apology. In fact, you know what? You'll be demonstrating emotional maturity. You'll be showing your children what it is to be emotionally mature. That when you're wrong, just admit you're wrong. And you don't have to be right. If you thought that, there's some instances that, hey, you know what, because you're the parent, right? Because you've lived more years and you've had more experience, you believe that you just have the answer, that you know better than they know, because I mean, hey, they haven't experienced all of life like you, but they could very well have a point on some things and be right. And when you realize that, you know what, hey, they were right, don't just let it go. Go back and apologize. You're like, yo, you know what? When we were having that conversation and such, and you were saying this, and I was telling you, no, it's like this, or do it this way, and it will come out this way. You know what? You were right, man. I apologize. I thought I knew it all, but you actually knew what you were talking about, and I was wrong. I apologize. Do you know how much more that would strengthen your influence with your child, with your children? They're going to look at you like, yo, but dad apologized? They'll be telling other kids about, they'll find that strange. In fact, you know, I have this conversation with my kids, you know, often, that, you know what, the relationship that I have with them, and that I apologize for things that, you know what, I check up on them emotionally. I'll ask them from time to time, is like, yo, is there anything that, like, in growing up when you were younger, that you feel like I put a restriction on you emotionally? They appreciate the fact that I would come and ask those questions for them, and for them to respond back honestly. So you'll actually be demonstrating emotional maturity and teaching them emotional maturity at the same time. If you learned how to apologize, you'll be a great demonstration for your sons and daughters of what real manliness looks like. Real manliness looks like I can apologize because you know what? I feel so secure in myself that I know that it doesn't diminish me as a man in any way. I don't lose any authority in any way by offering an apology. And plus, you're human. Why should I uh why should I neglect you of the right of feeling good? Why should you neglect them of an apology of what's going to help them with their emotional maturity and being able to communicate in a healthy way with others? Because it also teaches them to be able to communicate in a healthy way with others. Because if you bully them, because that's what it is, if you know that you need to offer an apology and you don't offer an apology and you walk around as if everything is okay because I pay the bills, I ensure that everything is in place, I am the man of the house, I am the head. So you know what? If I don't apologize, so what? That's saying that I have to have it my way or I have to have it my way. If you can't be happy, then everybody's going to be miserable. That's being a bully, man. Don't be a bully in your house. It puts everybody else in an uncomfortable place. And you know what? It's going to cut the line of communication off. You want to keep the lines of communication flowing in both directions. Because if all you're doing is setting the rules, saying this is how I want this, or you're giving out the commands and saying this is how it's going to be in my house, and then you know what? They'll shut down. And if they shut down with you, that means they're going to open up somewhere else. And you don't really know where they might open up at. There's all types of predators out there. There's all types of predators, and then there's others who may not be predators, but all they know is the wrong way, and they'll influence your children, and then you wonder where they're picking up all of this dysfunctional habits and hazardous habits. Well, they're not talking to you because you know what? You shut them down simply by not offering an apology, simply not looking at them as if they're a person. They're a little person. They're the child and you're the parent, but nonetheless, they're a person. They still have feelings. They still have emotions. Their feelings can be hurt. Their emotions can get crushed. Keep them lifted. Keep them elevated by offering that apology. Saying, I was wrong, you were right. Or even if it's not a matter of you were wrong and they were right, just a matter of let's agree on this. Can we agree on this? That would mean the world to them. They be bragging on you because you're a dad who apologizes. You don't bully. You don't just run the house because you're the man and it's just do what I say. The power of an apology, man. There's so much power in an apology and it carries so much weight with our kids. Like I said, you don't want them to shut down and not talk to you, to not confide in you, to not ask you questions. Then you start wondering why they're acting so funny. They're acting the way they're acting because you damaged them. You damaged them emotionally because the person who they thought was supposed to build them up and support them crushed them, shut them down. Because I'm the parent and you're the child. It's what I say. I'm right. I know what I'm talking about. And in the back of their mind, like I was just asking a question, Dad, or it was just a clarity question, but you took it as disrespect. Don't question me. They probably weren't sure of what it is that you wanted from them, and they just wanted clarity, but you took it as disrespect. Now you shut them down, and they're not wanting to ask you any more questions. They're not even wanting to talk to you much. They just acknowledge you as being the parent, but confiding in you and talking to you, coming to you with things that trouble them, things that they have a curiosity about, things that they're unsure about, things that's happening around them that, you know what, they have no experience in, but they need guidance. They're not coming to you. So they're going to go to someone. They're going to go to someone. They're going to go somewhere. God forbid they go to a predator. God forbid they go to someone who sees that they don't know and they take advantage of that. You're supposed to be the one that's molding their mind and molding them emotionally, molding them intellectually. But if you fail, I don't want to use the word fail, but if you miss the mark because of your pride, you can't apologize. Someone else is going to be molding your child emotionally, wounding them emotionally, hurting them and damaging them, sending them in the wrong direction. Simply because you wouldn't give an apology and that you pushed them out there. This is just real talk. I feel strongly about it because you know what, there's so many temptations and so many, we wonder why our children end up in hazardous situations or in hazardous relationships. Or they end up picking the friends that they pick and they run with the friends that they run with because an apology wasn't given. I'm not saying in all instances is because an apology wasn't given, but an apology can definitely keep them off of a path of making dangerous decisions, risky decisions, because you know what? They came to you and you're like, Dad, what does this mean? What does this mean when a person does this or a person says that? Why do people do this? Why do people do that? Those questions won't come to you because the lines of communication got shut down because you couldn't offer an apology because you knew that you may have been incorrect in something and they were correct, but because you're the parent and they're the child, you have to leave it in the order of parents don't apologize. Children apologize, but parents, they don't apologize because parents don't get it wrong. Kill that, man. Kill that, and you'll see a lot of issues will be avoided with your children, all because of adding apologies in places where you're wrong and they deserve an apology. They're human. They have emotions and they have feelings. Their feelings get hurt when they believing that they're right and they just want to contribute to a conversation, or they're coming to you with something and they're saying this, and the other thing, and they're excited about it. And you're like, nah. And you shut it down. That hurts their confidence. That makes them kind of shy, pull back. That's another conversation. All I wanted to say was, listen, I just thought about it because I was thinking about my kids, some conversations we were having, and it was like, you know what, yo, man, Dad, yo, you different. My friends, when I tell them that we talk about certain, that you apologize, that you ask us questions like when we were younger, did I put you in a place to where you felt like you were restricted? Did I restrict you emotionally any kind of way? You have these types of conversations with us now, even as adults. And my friends be like, what? Huh? Y'all talk about those things? And they're adults. All of my children are adults now, from 22 to 28, 4 girls, 2 boys. I was never too big. Well, once I learned that, you know what, they're deserving of apologies when I need to offer an apology. And I just give it and not hold it back, because I don't want them to hold any resentment towards me. You don't want your children holding any resentment towards you. You don't want your children to feel as though I don't feel like talking to them. I just get my feelings hurt every time I talk to them. When I have a conversation and I go and express a thing and they shut it down. I'm saying this one thing and then they come back and they counter and shut it down. And I was like, nah, I don't think it's that way. And you like, listen, I know what I'm talking about. Stay in your place and learn something. Just because they're the children, that doesn't mean they can't teach us something. All right, man. So listen, like I stated earlier, you want to keep the lines of communication open with you and your kids because you don't want them going to confide in someone else, putting their trust in someone else, and having somebody else take advantage of a fact of what they're inexperienced in and what they don't know. An apology can avoid all of that. In fact, let me give you this one scripture before parting. It's Ephesians 6:4, right? And it says, fathers, and this is in the scripture, it says, fathers, do not provoke your children to anger by the way you treat them. Don't provoke your children to anger by the way you treat them. It's not saying you have to be absolutely, you don't have to be absolutely mean to them, but the fact of not offering an apology when you're wrong and they're right, or you made a mistake. It may not be a right or wrong thing in a conversation. You may have just very well made a mistake, misunderstood something. And they're deserving of an apology because you don't want them to walk around with their emotions crushed, with them feeling as though, man, my dad's a bully. He doesn't listen. He doesn't apologize. I'm never right in anything. You don't want them walking around thinking like that. This is the Act Accordingly Series podcast, and I am your host, Daniel J. Williams. And hey, like I said, man, being manly is being able to apologize. There's strength in giving an apology. There's power in giving an apology. It strengthens your influence with your children. It helps solidify your friendship with them. You can still be the parent and still have a friendship because you want those lines of communication to flow both ways. You just giving rules and commands and making demands, that's not communicating. That's being a bully, because when they're not able to give you feedback, or when they stop confiding in you and asking you questions and wanting to talk to you about their life and their world and what's going on around them, you'll lose them to someone who may very well take advantage of them. So don't allow that to happen, man. Don't allow that to happen. And listen, if you'd like to reach out to me, you can by email, the number 2, actaccordingly@gmail.com. If you like to reach out to me, you can reach out to me through email, the number 2, actaccordingly@gmail.com. And if you're not following me on my social media platforms, but you definitely want to, and why aren't you if you're not? Okay, you don't know where to find me. So go to Facebook and you can find me at Daniel J. Williams. Daniel J. Williams, you can find me on Facebook at Daniel J. Williams. And if you go over to IG, 2 different accounts. The first account you can find and look for is the word 1, the number 2, the word triumph, 1 to triumph, the word 1, the number 2, triumph, 1 to triumph. And the second account is to act accordingly, to act accordingly. All right, I hope these are bringing some value to you, man. It's giving you a different look at some things that may be happening in your life, some stuff that you may be dealing with. Send me an email. And if you get on my social media platforms, drop a DM, get at me. Let me know if this is any help in any way, if it's adding any value in any way. I want to know. And remember this scripture, Ephesians 6:4. Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger by the way you treat them. You can't provoke them to anger if you're showing them absolute love, and respect goes both ways. they still need respect, even though they're kids, even though they're the child and you're the parent, they still ought to get respect. All right. Act accordingly.